오늘의 영상은 세계 평화 통일 가정 융합에 대한 영상인데요. About 1 year ago, I filmed an interview with my YouTuber friend about this topic. Is the Unification Church a church or is it a cult? So please, enjoy watching the video, and if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment section below. 동생, 친구들 재밌게 보고 만약에 질문이나 궁금하신 거 있으면 물어보시면 됩니다. 오케이, 바이바이. 재밌게 봐.
We have here joining me today, Michael.
What's up, Becky?
And we just kind of want to see maybe kind of his response and his thoughts on this video, someone who has not been part of the Moonies cult, seeing what it was like for someone who was. So let's just watch a few of these clips and let's talk a little bit about that.
We were very involved. We even lived in the church for a while in New York.
Building.
Yes, in New York City. And that was my first home. And my parents, my dad was in charge of the fundraising team. So he was always out raising funds for the church. And my mom was also doing outreach work. So
were there things that were required of you?
Well, they never forced you to do anything, but they very much highly encourage it.
What do you know about the Moonies cult?
I mean, I've heard the name thrown around a lot, and it's always associated with being a cult. I didn't know that it was related to Christianity, but then after I looked into it, it is related to Christianity. I didn't know why it was called Moonies, but now I know that it's because of the founder's name.
Yeah. After this clip, what were some initial thoughts that you had about this?
It's not really what I expected, because I've heard, and being in Korea, you do experience a lot of, and know about a lot of cults, but I've never experienced this one firsthand, or been approached by someone from this cult that I know of.
So fascinating to see how people who even are in America, this is originated from Korea, can be so greatly affected by the Moonies cult.
Yeah, that was something that was really shocking to me. I didn't realize it was started by a Korean man who didn't speak English. That's crazy, because how did it become such a massive international cult, super successful in the States, English-speaking country, especially when Korea wasn't as a big of an economic force as it is today. It was like, how did he do it and become so successful? I don't have an answer to that.
Let's see more of Sarah's video.
Did you ever know that this was a Korea-based church initially? or did you just think, oh, this is just American life?
I definitely knew it wasn't an American thing, because it's not like a typical kind of cult where they kind of try to isolate you from the rest of the world. But just being exposed to typical American culture, I knew that there was a huge difference between what I was growing up in and what everyone else was growing up in.
I mean, it's a classic trait of cult, where you have the leader is the one that ultimately benefits from the followers sacrificing their life. And it includes their time and their energy, and they will move city and move country for the leader, and they'll give extravagant amounts of money, and sacrificing it all for the leader who they believe to be this godlike person. In Japan, they had a lot of people gave money to the Moonies because to make up for what Japan did for Korea back with the Japanese occupation, and that his way was spinning it was to pay for your sins that you did in the past to Korea. You should give money to pay for that. He claimed that you can save your ancestors from hell by giving money to the church. And they would say well, it's a very small price to pay for being able to save your ancestor from hell.
Wow, I couldn't even imagine. I feel like you're giving me so much information now. I didn't know either.
Well, I'm really interested in it.
And we would bow to their picture during the holiday celebrations.
They were considered gods, right?
Basically, he considered himself as the person who God had picked to continue Jesus' mission. So he believed that Jesus wasn't meant to die, and that Jesus was supposed to go on and create this ideal true family, have children and have a lineage and that. So basically he was the one that was chosen by God to carry on the mission. So he was the second Messiah, basically.
Okay, this is what I find very fascinating about cults. But they always seem to be based off of this major religion, and then it just divulges kind of slightly like this. It's never like a full new, entirely different
Totally.
religion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar to not only the Moonies but other like Shincheonji and a few other kind of Christian cults or like spin-offs of Christianity in Korea. But Moonies is he's meant to be this kind of the Jesus 2.0, like
Jesus 2.0.
So that's where it spins off pretty massively from Christianity.
Let's see the next parts.
I had heard that Reverend Moon was hosting another matching ceremony. So, and it was going to be taking place in Korea. And usually it's in person. Yeah, all the men on one side, all the women on the other.
Like literally in a room, physically sitting.
So usually that's how it works. But in my case, it was a photo matching. So I just sent my profile and with like a full body shot and a headshot and kind of my biography, like about my time in the church and things like that. So they're like, yep, the matching day is going to be on this day. So be prepared to get a phone call, you know, to find out who your eternal spouse is, you know, so.
Eternal spouse. Would you ever do that?
I mean, not exactly like that, but I would kind of like trust my parents to, if they were really suggesting that I take a girl on a date, I would probably go with their suggestion. But this is like next level. No, ultimately no, I would never do this.
There was another part up here where she talks about how Reverend Moon would try to match people who were either of different cultures, different races, different ethnicities, even totally different languages. Not even, like, for example, her ex-husband and her, they could not speak the same language. And what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, one side is that maybe the reason that he's doing that is because you would go back to your home country and then you spread, you evangelize to people and you kind of like, it spreads off there. So an American and a Korean they get together and they go back to the States, and then they get people from the States to join the cult. And then if you're doing this with international people, then ultimately you're going to take over the world, like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, maybe 1 in every 50 couples that are matched by two parents are actually happy together and actually love each other. And you guys are pretending to be one of them, but you know you're not one of them, and you're never going to be one of them. And I was just in so much shock, and I was crying and angry, and my best friend sitting next to him just like, yeah, like my husband doesn't love me. They're just starting to say a lot of terrible things about me, right? So at that point, my birthday had just passed, and they actually gave me some money, some cash, and I literally used that cash to buy a one-way ticket to Korea.
The fact that Sarah like actually took the money that she received and bought a one-way ticket to Korea, I mean, that's pretty brave. I mean, if Sarah's watching, I think she did something really amazing, and what you're doing with your daughter, you've sacrificed a lot, and she's going to grow up with a loving mother and a loving family, so keep going. Your story is really inspiring. Obviously we can't imagine what it's like to be growing up in a cult, but it's like all you know, pretty much. That's the general thing. You're kept isolated. To break out of that is that takes a lot.
나의 동생들, 나의 친구들, 이 영상 재밌게 봤으면 좋겠습니다. 만약에 질문이 있으면 당연히 물어보시면 됩니다. And a big thank you to Becky, to Jay, to Cedric, all of the Halfie project. Thank you so much for letting me use this footage. 파이팅! Okay, 파이팅 동생! Bye bye.